Laser sights will make you a more accurate and confident shooter by providing visual feedback on sight alignment and trigger control. Crimson Trace, making laser sights standard equipment. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
Hey, y'all. It's Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Oh, look out. Oh, he's smoking.
All right, we're back with you. Tom Gresham, 866 Talk Gun. It's Gun Talk. Talk about everything from old guns, new guns, how to store guns responsibly, how to shoot well, how to get training, self-defense, safety, responsibility, pretty much anything. The only thing we won't talk about here is doing stupid stuff with guns. We don't do dumb things. We don't do irresponsible things. We're the good guys and gals. We're the guys who own guns, use them responsibly and safely. Fair enough? Okay. If you're good with that, give me a holler, 866-TALK-GUN. One of the things we do when we talk about self-defense and self-protection with firearms is we get training. Training is done on the basis of what worked in the past and what didn't work. One of the things we do is we study what works and what doesn't work. And we study self-defense uses of guns. We study law enforcement uses of firearms. What happens? And, of course, now we have, body cams, and we have a lot of ways to study things, but that wasn't always the case. Probably the most studied gunfight in history, even more so than the OK Corral, was the 1986 FBI Shootout in Miami. And I just finished reading this book, and it is fascinating. I read it cover to cover. The title of it is FBI Miami Firefight, 5 Minutes That Changed the Bureau. Joining me right now is the author of the book, co-author, and also the man who is at the center of that gunfight, Edmundo Mireles. Welcome, sir. I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's my pleasure.
Let me ask you, do you go by Edmundo or Ed? What do you prefer?
It doesn't matter either way. Whatever's easiest for you, Tom.
Okay, I'll go with Ed then. All right, so okay. I mean, for those who don't know, in 1986, we had this, and what I appreciated from what you did with this book was set the record straight on a lot of things that there's been a lot of misinformation on. But basically, try to explain to people in a short period of time, you had two really bad guys who really knew how to shoot, who practiced a lot. They were shooting thousands of rounds to practice. And they decided they weren't going to get taken alive, and you had a number of FBI agents who got into this incredible gunfight, and not everybody came out of that thing alive, including some of the FBI agents. And you got shot up. Everybody got shot up. Would you agree
correct.
This is probably the most studied gunfight of all time?
I have to agree with you, Tom. That's probably an accurate assessment. I know I've lectured across the country on and off for the last 25 years, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's not a police academy in the country that doesn't teach the lessons of the FBI gunfight. Every police officer who's come out of an academy for the last 2 decades knows about this, knows the lessons, and it's got to be in their minds. When you look back at it, are there any particular key lessons that come out of it, or things that, with perspective, you go, okay, these are things we've learned?
My gosh, several things come to mind, but probably the most important is that law enforcement officers, civilians, good guys, need to practice. I mean, you're only as good as the tools you have, and you're only as good as you are, when you practice. There's no sense in having this fantastic tool in your drawer and you don't know how to use it. So that's always been my philosophy: practice, practice, practice. And I think we learned the hard way that we had this this misconception, that criminals, were poorly trained, inadequately armed, and so on. And we ran across two guys that were a complete opposite of that. We ran across two heavily armed, highly trained, highly committed individuals. And as you mentioned before, you hear the classic term, they'll never take me alive. Well, these two guys were exactly that. Their attitude was, hey, you know what, you're never going to take me alive, and they proved it. The only way we stopped them was to shoot them to pieces. They were completely shot to pieces.
Well, they weren't the only ones. You got shot to pieces too, my friend.
No, that's true. That's very true. We ended up having to pay the bill for that for that event. But
it's interesting. You talk about practice. I wanted to talk about one thing there, because one of the things, we all tend to practice the things we like to do. We tend to practice the things that are easy. Nobody likes to practice the hard stuff. And I'm specifically talking about in the middle of this gunfight, you are shot up and you're now having to work a pump-action shotgun one-handed because you don't have the use of the other arm. And it's the kind of stuff where people say, why would I ever want to practice working a pump shotgun one-handed? Where would I ever use that, right?
Oh, you know what? I thought the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And it just so happened that in my early career, I was going through a test, like a standards test, with a senior agent, and he said that you have to hold the shotgun up with one hand, and you have to hold it up steady for 30 seconds, and I'm thinking, well, don't ask me why we were doing that, but I did it.
Right.
And I had to think to myself, I'm thinking, why would anybody, ever fire a shotgun one-handed, So, it was just strange, but that is something that jumped back at me, and I'm thinking, I remember having to do this little drill, with my right shoulder and my left shoulder, and that kind of brought everything, I guess I could say it formulated a plan for me, because up until that time I'd never really practiced it,
Right. And and that's why I always talk about the reason you go to really good trainers, firearms trainers, is because they think about this kind of stuff that the rest of us don't generally think of. They make you do things that you say, well, I never would have thought of that. That's a lot of the value, isn't it?
Correct. It's like, one-handed shooting or one-handed reloading, weak-handed shooting, weak-handed reloading, because you never know when you're going to need it, and it's always good to be able to have, it's like having another tool in your toolbox. You hope you never need it, but, it's there.
Do I remember this correctly in the book? Did you end up having to reload that revolver one-handed?
No, that wasn't me. That was Gordon McNeil. He was wounded in the right hand, and when he tried to reload, he ended up getting bone fragments and muscle tissue, caught in the cylinder. And when he tried to close the cylinder, on the weapon, he said it wouldn't close. So he said it almost looked like the weapon was bleeding. So obviously it didn't function. So he tried to go back to his car to get the shotgun in the back seat, but he was shot a second time at that point.
How many agents died?
Say again?
How many of the FBI agents were killed? Two out of the 8 participants. Okay, and I just want to point out to people, and we're talking about FBI agents who get a lot of training, who are very good at this stuff. I always tell people, Ed, just because you're the good guy doesn't mean you can't get shot in the middle of this thing. It doesn't mean you're invincible.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. There's no guarantee of that at all. So, like you say, just because you're a good guy and doesn't mean you're immune. So.
Oh, the name of the book is FBI Miami Firefight. What is it that you want people to know about that, or what is it that you hope this book does?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, Tom, there were so many misconceptions and almost myths, about what happened, and I mean, it's okay to be a myth, but what really griped me was the misconceptions. It's like, well, you should have called the Metro PD, or you should have had better weapons, or you should have waited for backup, and all these things. I mean, those are all good ideas, but we didn't do these things for a specific good reason, So, and that's what I tried to explain in my book. There's a passage in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 9:11. And you have to admire the number 911.
Oh wow! Yeah,
that's our number. So. But Ecclesiastes 9:11 says, the race isn't always to the swift, or the battle to the strong, and it goes on, and it says, time and chance happen to all people, and I guess that's the Bible's way of saying, hey, you can be lucky or unlucky, there's no guarantee in life, and that's what happened, time and chance, so many little things happened. I explained in the book, one individual went into a bank to check on a delivery schedule. He was out of service. Another individual at a different location in the surveillance went to the bathroom. He notified his partners, and he said, hey, I need to go, and they knew where he was, and so on. And then in the third location, another agent had to go to the bathroom too, so he notifies his team, So
those guys were not in the fight.
Those guys were not in the fight, and those were the most heavily armed agents on surveillance. Why did that happen that way? And I don't have an answer. It's just time and chance. I mean,
well,
it's just
Ed,
like, wow.
I'm going to recommend the book. I recommend the book highly. Once I started, I could not stop reading it. It's very well done, and you would not do it. And I hate to embarrass you with this, but I'm just going to tell people. I know that the word hero is thrown around an awful lot. But what you did in the middle of that, and what you did under those circumstances, was heroic, and stands as a testament to law enforcement officers and good guys everywhere, honestly.
Well, thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. But I've got to say, in my eyes and in my heart, the real heroes were Ben and Jerry. And I tell people, listen, hey, they did not take one single step back. Okay, they stood up and they faced it. They faced danger head on, and not one step back, and they gave their lives, for the cause. And their performance allowed me to have enough time, to figure out, number one, where I was, after I was shot. I was kind of like in La La Land. So it gave me a time to figure out what happened, and then assess my situation physically, and then assess my situation, tactically. And it gave me enough time to formulate a plan and then act on that plan. So without their effort, I don't think I would have had a chance to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a great book, Ed. I'm glad you wrote it. I want to thank you for writing it, and thank you for sharing it with us, okay?
Well, okay, Tom. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. The book is titled FBI Miami Firefight, 5 Minutes That Changed the Bureau by Edmundo Mireles. If you care about this stuff at all, you need this book. It needs to be part of your library. 866-TALK-GUN.
Crimson Trace announces Laser Guard Pro, designed for today's most popular concealed carry firearms, combining a red or green laser sight with 150 lumen light and featuring instinctive activation. Laser Guard Pro takes personal defense to the next level. Available now for the Smith & Wesson Shield. Visit crimsontrace.com to find a dealer near you and to learn more about why Crimson Trace is making laser sights standard equipment.
Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. The time is now to band together. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
I'm going to fill in a few more of the blanks here, things that I realize that this is so long ago now, this FBI Miami shootout. A lot of people probably don't even know about it, but it's famous in law enforcement circles. It was in 1986. This book is amazing. There are certain books, if you are interested in the subject, that you need to have, and this is brand new, but this is one of them. It's not a how-to. It's not a teach you how to shoot or conceal carry or anything like that. What it is, I think, is it programs you to what you may have to do. We had two bad guys who are really bad. In the previous week, they had shot 2,500 rounds practicing. 2,500 rounds. They were good. And they had good guns. They had 223s. And they determined they were not going to be taken alive. One of them was shot 6 times. One of them was shot 12 times. We were talking to the break, said, well, they weren't fatal. Well, yeah, they probably were. Some of them were fatal, but fatal doesn't mean you stop somebody from shooting back at you. It just means that he eventually will die. And if it takes him 5 minutes to die and he shoots at somebody 100 times, that's not optimal. So you're reading this thing and you're going, wow. One of the things the FBI did as a result of this firefight, of this gunfight, was they changed guns and ammunition. They were shooting 9mm. They went to, actually it ended up going to the 10mm. That proved to be a little bit too much for some of the smaller framed, primarily female agents, FBI agents. So they went to the 40 caliber. It was actually developed for the FBI, a shortened 10mm, and that's the 40 Smith & Wesson caliber. And that became their go-to. And they also developed the FBI ammunition protocol, the testing protocol, which is used by everybody now. And it's a good test. It's not perfect, but it's a good test. It shoots through glass. You test shooting bullets through glass, through denim, through different barricades, and looking for penetration, looking for expansion. And if a load will pass the FBI protocol, it's probably a good self-defense load for you to have. So you're reading this book, and what Ed Mireles did after he had his arm essentially blown off, and he's having to shoot this shotgun, figure out how to shoot it one-handed, laying it over a hood of a car, and then go sit back down, put it between his legs, rack the slide once, and then struggle back up while he's bleeding out, get it back onto the hood of the car, fire another shot, sit back down, rack the slide. When he runs out of ammo, then he takes his revolver. And the reports are he started screaming at these two guys because at this point he went from wherever he was to pretty much a madman. He got really angry because he had just seen his fellow agents killed and others shot. He shot up. And he starts staggering across this road parking lot where they were, shooting one-handed because he doesn't have the use of his other arm. I'm not kidding. It's essentially blown off. And he is screaming. Well, I think one of the guys was dead at this point, and the other one is still in the car alive, bad guys. And he would fire a shot and stagger, take 2 or 3 steps forward, fire a shot, and he got to where he worked his way up to where he's right next to the car. He sticks the gun, his revolver, in the window of the car and shoots the last murderer in the head. What do you get out of a book like that? Well, you certainly get an appreciation for amazing people. You get a wake-up call, if you will, to what may be necessary. And to all those people who say, yeah, well, the average gunfight, yada, yada, give me a break. You don't know what it's going to be. It's only going to be what it is. And if you run into one of these guys, oh yeah, and by the way, these guys were not on drugs. It wasn't drugs that was causing them to keep fighting. You run into somebody like that and you say, well, yeah, but I carry a 6-shot revolver. I carry a 7-shot automatic. Great, cool. But what if you need 15? What if you need more than a magazine's worth? Do you have an extra magazine? I don't know what the likelihood is of that. Who cares? If it doesn't happen, it's no harm, no foul. If it does happen, you need it more than anything in the world. It's as simple as that. What's your life worth? Who are you protecting? You, your kids, your wife, your husband? I don't know. It's a personal call. You got to look at it. But I'm here to tell you, this is a book worth having. Rarely will you hear me say that this emphatically. The title of the book is FBI Miami Firefight, 5 Minutes That Changed the Bureau. Get it, read it, share it. We'll be right back.
A girl can't go wrong with something in basic black, like an AR-15.
Some things never go out of style, like Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
All right, talking about security, imagine this situation. You got a guy, he's away from his house, but his phone goes bling. Takes a look at it, he's getting an alert from his Blink cameras, and it's telling him there's an intruder. There's motion at least. You don't know what it is, it's just motion. And you click on it, and you can actually watch the video, either real time or you can watch the video clip of when you got motion. I've had that happen a number of times. Sometimes it's, who knows, a critter out there, but sometimes it's somebody out there. The peace of mind you get from having that kind of a system it's hard to describe, actually. It really is. You just go, okay, I'm covered. And you don't have to pay monthly fees. You don't have to pay for a service. You just put them up. These Blink cameras they run off of AA batteries, last, they say, a couple of years. It is amazing how long the batteries last. Really easy to set up. Just a simple internet connection, and you're good to go, and you get these alerts on your phone. There's no contracts, no subscriptions, and Blink, it works with Alexa. Blink is an Amazon company. If you want the 15% off on your Blink cameras, you go to blinkprotect.com/guntalk because we got a 15% off deal for you because you're a Gun Talk listener. blinkprotect.com/guntalk. That'll work for you. Amazon, again, Blink is an Amazon company. I use them. 866-TALK-GUN. Jeff's with us on line 3 out of La Grande, Oregon. Hey, Jeff, what's up?
I love gun shows, Tom. They're so much fun. Last weekend, we went to 2. The first one was in Nampa, Idaho, and then the second one was in Hermiston, Oregon. The one in Nampa was great. It took me 3 hours to make one lap through, and I picked up 2. Yeah, I picked up 2 guns, made trades. You know how much fun the free enterprise system can be, And then there were two guns that I should have bought, but my buddy got a call from his brother and said, "Hey, we got to go home." And so there was, get this, a really classic, clean rifle on a 17 action made by P.O. Ackley himself in 30 Gibbs for $800. And the guy had the documentation and everything with it. I wanted that, but we had to leave. But I had picked up 327 Hand Federal in SP 101, and it's I really like it. Finding ammunition here in LeGrand has been tough, but eventually I'll get some. But then I picked up, remember the Browning 22 automatic takedown models?
The rifle that has the bottom eject?
I'm not sure. I didn't catch that, but it's the takedown. You push the buttons and twist it, and you take the barrel off.
And you feed the ammo through the stock, a hole in the stock, and it has a bottom eject system. Yeah, I have one of those. That was my very first rifle. In fact, that's the very first gun I ever owned.
Well, the finish is perfect on it. It hasn't been monkeyed with. I really like it. And when I was in junior high, my best friend's dad was a doctor, and for Christmas, the guy got his son one of those for Christmas, and we took it out and just shot the heck out of it. And this is the first opportunity I've had to pick one up since then, and it's just absolutely cherry. And so I just wanted to share that because everybody had been, serious talking politics and stuff, and I thought it was time for some fun.
I agree, and it's the thing is, you're talking about guns that you can't order them, you can't go into a gun store and buy them new. These are old guns, classic guns, even guns with historical significance, like the P.O. Ackley rifle. That, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't buy that. But anyway, there you are.
If the guy didn't get rid of it, I know where he lives, and I can try and get a hold of him later. But yeah, I wanted, my plan was to go back to the guy's table when my buddy, who, by the way, was driving. If I'd have been driving, we'd stuck around long enough for me to get the Gibbs. But since he was driving and we're 3 hours away, I didn't want to get stranded.
Well, and that's the beauty of gun shows. You walk around, you never know what you're going to find some cool stuff. And, of course, the challenge also is you don't know that if I make another lap, is it going to still be there when I come back? Hey, great range report, Jeff. I appreciate that. Marcus, don't go anywhere. I'm going to get to you. I got to take a quick break. I'm going to come back because we've got another range report coming up from Ohio. If you'd like to join us, if you've been shooting, buying something, or selling something, let us know. 866-TALK-GUN.
For more than 70 years, Timney Triggers has been enhancing the shooter's experience. Whether it's a local competition, a day at the range, or even the hunt of a lifetime. Setting the standard in aftermarket triggers, Timney is now producing more than 170 models of triggers for bolt-action rifles, shotguns, AR rifles, and semi-automatic rifles. Proudly made in the USA since 1946. Find your new trigger at TimneyTriggers.com.
Hi, this is Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of one football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast, but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
Want great deals on guns, ammunition, and gear? Download the free Gundealio app today. With Gundealio, you can search for deals, listen to the Gun Talk podcast, watch gun videos, read gun news, and get notifications right to your phone about deals and special offers. Save money on the products you want from the companies you love. New deals, discounts, and rebates added daily. Gundealio, available for free in the App Store and Google Play.
Why do hunters and shooters love the Ruger American rifle? With right-handed and left-handed versions, all-weather, Magnum, Compact, Predator, Ranch, and Scope package options, there's a Ruger American for everyone. Lightweight with an adjustable trigger and minute of angle accuracy, Ruger American rifles pack in the features. Is the Ruger American the best rifle on the market? See for yourself at your local retailer or at Ruger.com. That's Ruger.com.
I don't know if you saw the news. Let me click on this. Tom Selleck has announced he's stepping down from the NRA board. He's been a director for a while. No news as to whether he's like having any kind of falling out or anything else. He remains a member, so he's not like getting out. And maybe that it's just one of those deals where, he's busy. He's got a busy schedule. He's in demand, and maybe he couldn't show up for all the board meetings. And it just gets to be too much. I don't know, but just kind of I passed that along, just so that you are aware of. Line 4, Marcus is with us out of Ohio. Hey, Marcus, what's your range report?
I picked up recently a Uberti 22 lever action rifle, chamber 22 long rifle with a walnut finish stock. I think it's called the Silver Boy. I was walking through a store recently, which I usually buy firearms from. I was looking for a target for my son's bow, and I saw this. It was like on clearance. They're not carrying them anymore or something. I literally had enough cash in my wallet to buy it, so I kind of bought it on the spot. Which,
I could just see it. You're looking at this gun, and you're thinking, wait a minute, I've got that much money with me.
Yeah, which can be dangerous sometimes. But
yeah,
so I ended up picking it up because the price was right, and we took it out to the range. I've had out there several times. It's just a ton of fun. It's nothing special. It's a lever action. It's my first lever action gun I've ever owned. I'm more of a handgun guy than rifle, but man, you can shoot them all day. There's almost no recoil on it. It feels pretty well made. I've never heard of Uberti until I bought it. I looked them up a little bit.
Yeah. They're a big company. That's a real deal. So they make good stuff. So, okay, let me ask you, if you've never owned a lever action, what possessed you to buy this in the first place?
Because I love the show The Rifleman, and I always watch the beginning of it, the old reruns where he has that lever action.
Yeah.
I don't even know what, it's some sort of Winchester maybe, and I said, they just look really cool. I've never shot one, and I want one, and this price was right. I just couldn't pass it up, so
that may be the best description of why to buy a gun. I just wanted it. It looked cool. I had the money. I bought it. I love it.
There you go. What more do you need than that,
So, all right. So let me ask you, did you take anybody else to the range? Did anybody else shoot it? And how did they react to it?
I did. A few people, actually, and one has an interesting little story behind it. I took my 11-year-old son out and also my 7-year-old son, and they both did real well and enjoyed it. I think it's a little bit long, like the stock. So now I'm kind of looking for a shorter youth rifle for them. But they were able to shoot it pretty well, and they had a blast. They had a ton of fun. They like loading it, too. It's got the tube. You feed them in the tube, so they like just putting the rounds in there. And, that was fun for them. But I also took my sister-in-law, who's 50 years old. Mm-hmm. She has very little firearm experience, but she has shot some. And she kept putting it on her shoulder, and we were shooting at old clay targets that we just had wedged in the dirt backstop. And she couldn't hit him, and she said she can't get the sight lined up right, and she was holding it all goofy to try and get them lined up. And I said, no, there's something wrong. You should be able to see it and line it up. Long story short, I've heard you comment several times about right-handed, left eye dominant. Well, that's what she is, and she had her left eye open, and she can't shoulder to her right. She couldn't get the sights to line up, and I just didn't understand it, and I couldn't figure out the problem. And then that had triggered in my head from hearing your radio show. And we checked it out. She shouldered it to her left shoulder, which was awkward for at first, but 4 or 5 shots in, then she started breaking targets right on the money. So,
great.
Something good that I learned. I never would have thought of it if I hadn't heard it come up several times on your show. So thank you for that.
Well, absolutely. Well, and that is wonderful. If you're thinking about a youth model, I'm certain that Henry Repeating Arms has youth models. Marlin may have some. Actually, Mossberg may have youth models of 22 lever actions as well. But just do a little poke around. They're definitely out there, okay?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I haven't taken the time to look, but that's next on my list. I'll make sure to keep some extra cash in my wallet,
Well, that's a great range report. I sure appreciate that, sir.
Thanks. You have a good day.
You too. Take care, Marcus. Let's see. Let's get Will in here from Spokane, Washington on 2. Hey, Will, you're up. What's going on?
I'm calling today about 1639, the initiative in Washington State, and I just wanted to get on so that those that are listening from the state of Washington need to get involved and to take some action and to get involved to defeat this. Vote no on 1639.org is a good way to contact to get more information and to start taking some action.
Absolutely. 1639 is a horrible piece of legislation. It went through it. Basically, it's on the ballot illegally. The courts just basically did an olé. They didn't care, let it go through. And, I mean, one of the things I've been explaining this, one of the things it does is it creates a registration of assault weapons, but their definition of assault weapon is essentially any semi-auto rifle of any type, of any caliber, including 22s. That old Browning 22 that the fella called about earlier that he found at the gun show, that would be listed as an assault weapon in Washington State. Now, here's the problem. I'm just going to be really honest with you about this. The problem is we don't have enough money. I mean, like, really, really don't have enough money. Between the Second Amendment Foundation and the NRA, there's $200,000 or $300,000 maybe available. On the other side, you've got Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, and a couple of other billionaires who are dropping truckloads of money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. This is a marketing effort. It is an advertising play. The firm, the company, the side that can buy more advertising usually can win. Not always. Okay, not always. Because there are other ways to go out there. But it is massively effective when you can buy up all the airtime and put these really misleading, heart-rending, emotional commercials up. We must pass this for the children. We must do something about these evil assault weapons. Except that they're squirrel rifles. Literally, squirrel rifles included in this. There's a whole bunch of other really ugly stuff in 1639. Why on a national show do we talk so much about what's going on in some of these states? Because this same bill is being introduced into your state. I don't care where you live. It's like the red flag, they call them the red flag laws, the confiscation laws, where anybody can turn you in and there's no due process. Anybody can say you are a hazard to yourself or to someone else and the police come and take your gun. All your guns. The same identical bill is being introduced into every state. Why? How? How does that work? How do they make that happen? Well, simple. You got Bloomberg Billions. You've got all this money. And if the NRA probably has an average of something like one field rep for every 4 or 5 states, the gun ban lobby has 3 to 6 very well paid and, frankly, very talented people in each state doing exactly this kind of work. What's it going to take? Well, if you happen to be a billionaire and you're listening, we could use the help because that's what it takes. But also, it's just like what we're talking about here. You got to call all your friends. You got to talk to them about it. You have to be informed and don't, say outrageous things. Just say, look, let me explain to you what this actually does, what it is. It's not what, and that's the whole thing. It's not what they are telling you it is. And that's kind of where you start off with. 1639 is not what they are telling you it is. Let me explain it to you, and then you better be able to explain it. But for everybody else, if we're not in Washington State, we need to pay attention because, trust me, it is coming to the legislature near you. 866-TALK-GUN. All right, welcome back. I'm just having way too much fun. I mean, a lot of times we talk about just fun things, and sometimes we talk about the serious stuff. When we had FBI Agent Ed Mireles on with us with this book, cannot recommend this book highly enough, honestly. FBI Miami Firefight, 5 Minutes That Changed the Bureau. Talks about the guns, the loads, how it changed what they carry. Some people, it's interesting, some people say, well, the FBI was outgunned. They didn't have many guns there. They didn't have the right kind of guns. So he's got a picture in his book. I got to find this. This is very cool. Okay, there it is. Photo Exhibit 15, outgunned. Looking at the firearms that the FBI had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I count 26 guns that the FBI agents had with them. 2 of them got killed. Several of them got shot up by 2 guys who knew what they were doing. The firefight, the fight that you see in your head may not be the fight that you have. It's kind of a simple concept, but it is. It may not be the one that you have. So, practice all the time. All right, so I'm at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, and we're just talking to a whole bunch of folks, and we're having a good time. And there's, I don't know, somewhere, and I don't know what the final number is going to end up being, but probably somewhere in the 500 to 900 range of people there. There was a lot of people. And what was interesting to me, starting to see a change in the makeup. A lot of women, as you might imagine, but more African Americans and a few, not a lot, but a few Asians. The diversity of gun ownership, I think, is changing the makeup of gun ownership, or maybe they're willing, folks are just willing to say, hey, yeah, I'm a gun owner. I know it's interesting. One of the things that we're running into, we just had this special election in Texas. A lot of Hispanic voters are voting conservatively and voting Republican. And I think that may surprise some folks. I don't know what it means in the greater scheme of things. It's kind of just a data point. You look at it and go, well, that's interesting, and may not be what a lot of people are thinking. But also, you've got people that, well, let's back up. What's the appeal of shooting? What's the appeal of gun ownership? Really comes down to 2 things. Think about this. It comes down to 2 things. One is that you can protect yourself and your family with a firearm. And once you've done the analysis, which shouldn't take a long time, you figure out that nobody else will. It is up to you. You can call the police and they will come, maybe, sometimes, generally. Sometimes they're very fast and sometimes they're very good. And sometimes it can be 30 minutes before they come. And sometimes they won't come at all. Just stuff happens. So what are you going to do in the interim? And if you look at it, you go, okay, we're going to have to take care of ourselves. We need the tools and we need the training. So self-defense is one thing. And the other one is that simply this, shooting is so much fun. And it's a social event. And when you think about it, why wouldn't that not appeal to every demographic? And now that we have shooting ranges in a lot of big cities, it's more available to people. And you have these upscale shooting ranges where people can go and shoot and feel safe, and it's clean, and they can take their friends, and they can take dates, and they can take their family, and they have a women's group that goes there, every week. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm seeing this landscape change, and you too could be a part of it. I just would say, you know what? Invite your friends, and don't just say, well, I don't know if they would like it. Ask. It's amazing when you ask people, I say, would you like to go to the range with me? How many people go, well, yeah. Then you say, hey, don't worry about it. I got guns. I got ammo. We can take care of it. That's what you do. That's your ambassador. That's your Second Amendment outreach. That's your activism. It works. You vaccinate them against gun control when you take them shooting. We'll be right back.